1v1 Quick-Ware Cookies, Others Travel Through Time. Bombing the Heavenly Empress, Counterattacking the Supporting Actress, and At Least Not Continuing, It's a Person. Litang Crossing. Delicate vampires, naive peach blossom demons, soft and cute kittens, national treasure cubs, innocent foxes, even mobile apps, game NPCs, virtual girl groups. Litang. With a smile on her face and a heart full of anger, she feels very angry. Litang in the eyes of others. Cute, or cute Litang in the eyes of the system. Ferocity, or ferocity Litang in the eyes of a major villain. His from then on, people from all walks of life began their journey of raising offspring. Our declaration is to give the best to female geese. The called frequent walking by the lake, how can one not get their shoes wet? As the 001 system, it never expected that one day it would overlook and bind itself to a super invincible and dangerous host. At first, he thought it was a cute little girl, but later he found that it was obviously a rice dumpling or black sesame. Plain and light sweet text, pay attention to the party and be cautious when entering. If you scold me, I'll scold you. I'm super fierce. Group 4717375009 Keywords of the novel. Host wants to be a person today without pop-ups. Host wants to be a person today. Download the complete TXT collection. Host wants to be a person today. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 1. The sky is dim, and there is a drizzling rain in the sky. A slight collision sound came from the damp and narrow alley. Litang was awakened by a sharp scream. She opened her eyes in confusion, staring around at the overly tall cardboard boxes and buildings for a moment, then instinctively lowered her head. There is a small puddle of water on the ground, reflecting her appearance as a snow-white kitten. Due to being caught in the rain, my hair was hanging down all over my body, tightly pressed against my body, and I looked a bit disheveled. The pupils are beautiful lake blue, with a faint golden halo in the middle, hazy. This is an extremely beautiful little cat. Litang wrinkled her delicate nose and fell into confusion. System. The voice is soft and sweet, and just listening can imagine that the other person should be a delicate and cute little girl. A white light bulb drifted beside her, and the excited electronic audio tape was accompanied by a loss of heart. Tang, we have reached the small plane. It seems that some activity is being held not far away. Suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps, and several girls hurriedly ran by the alley holding light signs. The accumulated water in the puddle was splashed up, soaking the cat all over. Due to running in a hurry in the bad weather, the few people didn't see a cat here and only chatted hastily. Hurry up, brother is about to arrive. Woo, this damn weather, I finally saw my brother once, and I even brought a camera with me. It's okay. I saw Sister Sue carrying a cannon. We'll just rest assured and lick the screen. The sound of footsteps quickly disappeared, and Litang, who had been hit by a reckless disaster, blinked twice. She instinctively shook her ears, shook off the dirty water on her body, and her soft and sticky voice carried a hint of dissatisfaction. So why did it turn into a cat? This, to be precise, is a cat demon. The white light carefully glanced at her, probably due to nervousness, and did not notice that her host's tone was somewhat off. After all, when it was first bound, it seemed, probably, that it forgot to tell the host about it because it was too excited about the task. Litang fell silent. She was originally the daughter of the richest person in the world, but when she was born, her mother Li was kidnapped by her opposite family, causing her to have fetal vitality. Since birth, her body has been weak and she lives in the hospital all year round. Even with the best medical resources, she only lived to be 17 years old. When I woke up again, I found that I had become piao, and then I was bound by the system that claimed to collect my favorite value 001. Looking at my dirty paws, my mouth deflated. When can I become a human? Just be a demon, at least you can still become a human. The white light flashed, and the mention of this electronic sound was quite exciting. Love value of over half is enough. So Tang, we need to cheer duck. Strive to find the sun of luck as soon as possible. It looked at the guidebook and rubbed its hands. The first step is to go to a place with people, Tang. There are many people turning left in the alley ahead. The cat let out a soft snort, and could vaguely hear a hint of unwillingness before slowly moving out when the rain stopped. Leaving the alley, people's screams became clearer. Litang tilted her head and took small steps as she looked at the map projected by the mid-air system. The road was flooded with water, and Litang wrinkled her wet nose, carefully avoiding the puddle. She walked a small alley for more than 10 minutes. After finally arriving at the place, it was already overcrowded. This article focuses on mind clearance, highlighted here. Plain little sweet text, no glass residue, no misunderstanding, no supporting role, as the copywriter said, the plot line is weak, coming in is candy. Suggest reading it as a relaxing little sweet article. Don't be picky with me, turn left when you go out and don't give me a ride. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 2 Looking at the people surrounded layer after layer, Litang paused and said in a muffled tone. One by one, are you willing to let me squeeze? 001 was stunned, realizing that the host was calling him, and was immediately moved. Woo is truly its carefully selected host. I looked at the small body of my own host, then at the crowd in the distance, probably because of the old father's mentality, and answered without hesitation. It's okay, Tang. We're not in a hurry. Ding. Detected that the son of Qi Yun appears within 100 meters. A sudden announcement interrupted its words. The system paused and immediately swallowed the unfinished words, probing to speak. Tang, why don't we go squeeze together? In fact, the system is also a bit confused. Is it so easy to encounter the son of Qi Yun? But it remembers what the manual says is difficult to see. Litang lowered her eyes slightly, not knowing what she was thinking, just responding softly. Okay. The host is so obedient, and the system feels even more guilty, feeling like a malicious father who abuses children. A low-key black business car was parked in front of the red carpet. The reporter, who was originally idle, immediately saw the license plate and his eyes lit up. He quickly aimed the camera and flash at the car door. Peripheral fans also became restless upon seeing this. It's my brother. It's my brother's car. Wu Shenyan killed me. Husband. The new movie is super good. The kitten happened to walk to the outskirts, and the crowd started to riot. Obviously, no one would notice under its feet at this moment. The system only had time to scream. Tang. Be careful. However, it was too late, and after some twists and turns, she was pushed onto the red carpet. The people who were close finally noticed something unusual. Oh, why did a little cat break in? Litang. She rubbed her dirty little paws on the red carpet, meowing in a milky voice, trying to vent her dissatisfaction. Ding. Discover the target of the strategy. Upon hearing the announcement, Litang was taken aback and instinctively tilted her small head to look over. The other party had just got off the car, and at this moment, their eyes were slightly drooping. They were slowly tidying up their cuffs, and their posture was leisurely but calm. He was wearing a black suit, revealing a snow-white shirt inside, looking very low-key. The sapphire on his sleeves emitted a strong blue luster. Under the suit pants, the legs are slender and straight. Just standing there makes people unable to move their eyes. Su Jinchen raised her eyes slightly, revealing her perfect seductive face. The eyebrows are delicate, the eyes are warm and beautiful, and under the slender feathered eyelashes are clear black pupils, as if one can see them all at a glance. Noticing everyone's gaze, he nodded slightly, appearing gentle and gentlemanly. The crowd was stunned by the beauty for a moment, and only then did they slowly react to the gaze of the actor. They quickly adjusted their equipment and started shooting, as if all the previously stored film was going to be consumed at this moment. The flash overwhelmed the red carpet for a moment, accompanied by the enthusiastic screams of the surrounding fans. Litang fell silent, while openly rubbing his paws clean and scrutinizing the other person. Su Jinchen stayed in place for dozens of seconds and politely asked the reporter to take photos before walking onto the red carpet. Seemingly noticing something, the actor lowered his gaze slightly and his gaze drifted lightly around a corner. The crowd was too excited, and its location was not obvious, which only then caught people's attention to the small snow-white ball next to the red carpet. Following the gaze of the actor, the camera in the live broadcast room also shifted upwards towards the side. The barrage that was supposed to sizzle on the screen suddenly froze for a moment. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 3. How could there be a kitten here? Wow. It's also so beautiful. What kind of breed is this? I really want to keep it, too. Ha ha ha, I'm not the only one who noticed its little movements, am I? Is it rubbing against the red carpet? Look at that dirty spot. Ha ha ha, it seems like really rubbing against the red carpet. Which cat got lost and didn't see any cards? It doesn't seem like it's lost, does it? It rained just now, so it looks like a stray cat. At the scene, one person and one cat exchanged brief glances. Facing her wet and beautiful pupils, Su Jinchen's eyebrows twitched and she lowered her gaze slightly, her slender eyelashes partially covering her gaze. The electronic sound of the system seemed a bit excited and kept shouting in her mind. Tang tang. We looked at each other. We took the brave first step. Let me see, the manual says, the second step is to find a way to rely on him. Litang fell silent, perfunctory with the system, while lying down on her small body openly, rubbing the water stains on her head against the red carpet. At the end of the red carpet, the host was already shouting, and the actor calmly averted his gaze and took a few steps to the signature board. Taking the pen handed over by the organizer, he slightly adjusted the cuffs and raised his hand to sign. Between the fair and bony fingers, the black signature pen complements the pale texture of the wrist, exuding a subtle allure amidst its nobility and reserved demeanor. The drizzle had already stopped unconsciously, and the sky was still dim and gloomy, yet it made people feel like it was shining. The screen in the live broadcast room was instantly flashed. I'm dead. Today I'm the signature pen in my brother's hand. No one should compete with me. Woo 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 is so lustful, why did I almost have nosebleeds even though I only showed one hand? This face, this hand, this figure, I just hissed and hissed. The host didn't dare to make things difficult for this person, so he simply asked a few questions and let them go. The system eagerly watched as the target character disappeared. Tang tang, won't we catch up? Litang rubbed off the water stains on her body and shook her head, although it was still not clean, there was finally no sticky feeling. After finishing all of this, I reluctantly managed to manage the system and walked elegantly towards the entrance of the venue. The celebrities behind are still entering, and no one at the scene noticed when the kitten was missing. The lighting in the venue was very dim, and there were only a few scattered people sitting in the front row. She saw someone at a glance. Compared to other artists gathering together in small groups to communicate quietly, he just sat there quietly, with a straight back, two long legs slightly overlapping, and a cold breath emanating from his whole body. The lighting on stage dyed his hair tail into a beautiful light golden color, and his slender eyelashes cast a small shadow on the bottom of his eyes, making his skin even colder and whiter. Soon, a host came on stage to warm up the scene, and the celebrities below also sat down to ensure their posture when the camera was cut. She didn't go directly either, only found a small corner at the entrance and lay down. She used her little paws to pull a small blanket from somewhere and placed it under it. Her milky voice meowed, and her lake blue pupils were shrouded in a thin mist. One by one, "I'll take a nap first, call me when it's over." The system quickly responded, watching the little curled-up cat's heart melt, and the old father's mentality was perfectly satisfied. A faint sound of staff communication could be heard not far away. "Strange, why is this blanket missing one piece? Forget it, if you can't find it, go to the backstage to get it. There's more, send it to the guests as soon as possible, don't waste time." Okay. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 4. I participated in a public welfare event this time, and the auction proceeds will be donated to charitable organizations. The artists who come to participate are nothing more than taking some photos to show their support for charity. The celebrities below reacted warmly to this, as it was a good time to attract fans. No matter what they thought in their hearts, their faces were all smiling. After taking photos of 2 items, Su Jinchen became a bit tired. His back relaxed slightly and he leaned back in the chair, tapping his fingertips one after another. His gaze wandered around the stage casually, then he withdrew his gaze. The next second, he was slightly stunned. In the dim corner of the line of sight, there lay a small snow-white ball that was only as big as 2 slaps, and it was the cat I had just seen. After a while, I probably felt that I didn't sleep well enough. I reached out my paw to grab the blanket, trying to cover my small body, but I struggled for a while but couldn't succeed. He suddenly burst into laughter and didn't know how the staff managed to let it in. The weather in March was supposed to get hotter, but these 2 days it has been cloudy and rainy. In addition, the air conditioning in the venue has not been turned on, so the temperature is a bit low for a newborn cat. The actor lowered his head and looked at the blanket he had handed over, pondering how to deliver it. A few seconds later, she reacted again and rubbed her eyebrows with her fair fingertips, feeling like she was probably in a daze. Noticing that the little kitten over there had unconsciously curled up, his gaze paused, and he couldn't help but let out a low sigh. He picked up his phone and sent a message out. The assistant waiting outside in the garage glanced at his phone and rubbed his eyes with suspicion. The agent sitting in front glanced at him and continued to look down at the feedback on Weibo. "What's wrong?" "Ah, Brother Chen asked me to send a blanket in." "Blankets? Didn't the organizer send them?" "Then you go quickly. You can't catch a cold at this time. I remember our partner sent a few in the trunk before." The assistant exclaimed, obediently got out of the car and picked up the blanket. After a while, he stuttered again. "Brother Zhang, the blanket is not for Brother Chen, but for a kitten." The agent paused while swiping his phone, his face full of confusion. Cats. An hour later, Litang was successfully awakened by the heat. The little paw pulled open the blanket on his body, revealing his small head and a drowsy face that had not yet woken up. The blanket on her body slipped slightly due to her movements and fell to the ground. The little kitten lowered its head to look at its feet, then looked in front of it, slightly confused. What happened? The system's eyes suddenly lit up, and the electronic sound was faintly excited. "Tang Tang, it was the strategy target that the assistant sent to you." She instinctively tilted her head and looked at the other person, stretching lazily. The activity was about to end, and the staff began to walk in and out. Litang lifted her paws and trimmed her hair before silently leaving the venue. Before enjoying the fresh air outside, I heard the collision of high heels and tiles coming from not far away. And the faint voices of conversation. Yuan, Emperor Suing is also here. If you find a way to connect with him online, the female lead in that movie will not worry. The woman smiled with an undisguised pride. I know that I will definitely win this movie. As long as you have some information, I have inquired about it. When there is a group photo session, you can take the opportunity to stand by his side. Although the coffee shop may be a bit inferior, you are still a small flower on the first line. After the company hypes up again, the popularity of the online platform will naturally increase. The two voices are getting closer and closer. The system looked at the direction they were walking towards and couldn't help but remind them. Tang Tang, if you don't leave, you'll be trampled on. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Little Ancestors of the Best Actor 5, Plus. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 6. Litang was lost for a moment, and his small paw accidentally pressed against his ankle. The system was also shocked. Tang Tang, did you hear me? We have also completed the second step. It knows that its host must be the most talented. In a daze, the actor had already bent down and picked up the kitten. Suddenly, a chill emanated from the face, reminiscent of the texture of the metal cuffs. She leaned against the other person's flat sleeves and, out of the nature of a kitten, couldn't help but extend her paw to scratch. Sensing her movements, Su Jinshan lowered her eyes, raised her slender fingers slightly, and rubbed her small head with a soothing touch. The assistant is dumbfounded. Surprisingly, one day our boss will hold a cat. Still so gentle. He felt a bit sore watching the cat recklessly buckle its cuffs. After all, he knew the price of this thing the best, but his own boss looked indifferent and didn't think there was any problem. The actor took a few steps with long legs, his beautiful eyes slightly turned to his side, and his voice was clear and smooth. Not leaving. The assistant responded in a daze and followed with the 2 blankets in his hand. He was a bit puzzled just now why he had to bring a blanket, and now he probably knows. In the garage. Looking at the 2 people walking by, the agent hung up the phone with a somewhat suspicious gaze. Did it end so quickly? The assistant explained on the side. Chen said he won't go take a group photo anymore. He nodded casually and opened the car door. If you don't go, then don't go. It doesn't have any impact. At his position, he hardly participates in regular activities and only makes 1 or 2 movies every year. Attending the event is considered a gift to the organizers, so without a group photo, no one will say anything. Do you have a box? The agent was stunned and instinctively looked at the man who spoke, only to notice that he had an extra cat in his arms, which seemed a bit novel. You really brought back a cat? I thought Xiao Wang was joking. After thinking for a moment, answer him. I don't have any boxes, but when the organizer brought the gifts over earlier, those boxes were still left in the trunk. Can we just lay a blanket on them and use them for now? After all, it's a big brand, and even the boxes are of better quality than usual, so there's no need to worry about being easily scratched by the little ones. Thinking about it, Su Jinshan nodded. So the assistant consciously ran to the trunk and dug out an empty box, removed the lid, and laid 2 layers of blankets inside, creating a simple small nest. Only when the cat is settled down can they get on the car and leave. There is only the actor in the back seat, and there is also a little cat. Because she had just slept, Litang was not sleepy at the moment. Her 2 small claws were hooked on the box, feeling a bit dissatisfied and trying to pull it out. The woody fragrance on a man's body lingers in the car, with a breath that is not far or near, yet easily addictive. Su Jinshan held the document in one hand, and Yu Guang saw this scene and skillfully smoothed her hair. Litang narrowed her eyes comfortably, reached out a small meat pad and patted his wrist, trying to crawl into his arms. I'm a bit restless. The system cheers and cheers for her in the space. Tang Tang did a good job. That's how I rely on him. The kitten is only 1 or 2 months old in total, and with deliberately retracting its nails, it can only feel the soft flesh pad on its wrist, which is not painful and has a slight itching sensation. Su Jinshan looked at this scene with some humor. Simply pick her up and place her on your lap, with snow-white fingertips weaving through her hair, gently touching her. I don't care at all if my expensive suit gets dirty. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 7. Feeling the soft fingertips wandering around her chin, Litang tilted her head and felt somewhat comfortable being served. The beautiful pupils squinted slightly, making a contented gurgling sound, panting with milk. The agent turned his head and saw that they were getting along harmoniously and strangely. Are you really planning on raising it? The man let out a low hum, his clear and light eyes always falling on the document. Is there anything happening in the studio lately? There's no big problem. Oh yes, Director Yang's movie script has been sent over for you to see. Seeing the other person respond casually, I touched my chin and thought for a moment. Should we send you directly back to the villa or go to the pet store first? We must buy something for this little guy. Although he couldn't imagine how this person and cat would get along, he still raised his hands to support him. His own artist has a cold and aloof personality, and raising a small animal seems like a good idea. Su Jinshan nodded slightly, glanced at his watch, and lowered his gaze to look at the little guy lying on his lap. Go to the pet store first. He suddenly stopped moving, and the cat, who was enjoying it, patted his wrist in dissatisfaction. Then, it reached out its paw and pressed it against the man's waist and abdomen, trying to push its little head towards him, with a fierce expression. Not afraid of people at all. The agent looked happy. Did you pick up a little ancestor and come back? It's rare to see someone who's not afraid of you. The man smiled helplessly, with a slight curl on his lips, allowing the little one to move on him. He obediently lowered his hand to scratch her chin. His voice was slow and melodious, with a faint smile. Well, I picked up a little ancestor. Litang showed no interest in their conversation and silently wrapped his little tail around someone's wrist, as if afraid of him running away. Then, with peace of mind, I pulled on the 5-digit value suit jacket and enjoyed the comfort of the actor. Su Jinshan simply put down the documents and worked hard to serve this little guy. He's not much big, and he has a pretty big temper. Not long after, I arrived at the pet store. Due to my male identity, I didn't casually look for a shop on the street, but deliberately opened it back in the villa area. I walked a few steps and arrived at his residence. So the agent and assistant didn't come along either. Eventually, the goods could be delivered to the door, and they only explained to him through the window. Take a good rest and come to pick you up tomorrow morning. Su Jinshan hummed and was about to put a little guy into a box to take with him when he saw the other person's little paw tightly hooked on his coat. A light gray mark appeared at the corner of the pure black jacket. Obviously, it's the paw print of a little kitten. He chuckled a bit, probably because he didn't expect the little guy to be quite clingy. Do you want me to hug you? Litang nodded her little head and let out a milky meow, her little body wishing to crawl into his pocket. It is quite reasonable and robust. Well, it's a bit addictive, it feels like I've been sucking on catnip. The man paused, one hand supporting her small body, the other hand slightly curling his fingers, hooking his mask and carrying the cat into the shop. Even wearing a mask, his appearance was too superior, and soon a salesperson noticed him approaching. Hello sir, may I ask what I need? The actor lowered his eyes slightly, his fingertips casually brushing the cat's fur, his voice clear and elegant with magnetism. What do I need to keep a cat? The shop assistant was stunned for a moment, then instinctively looked up. Clear and beautiful eyes, with ink-like colors, containing light and scattered light under the halo of light, within reach. She felt a little hot on her face, but her good professional qualities immediately brought her back to her senses. She lowered her head and glanced at the kitten in his arms, deviating from the introduction at the beginning. Is this your first time raising a cat? If it's a newborn kitten, we suggest that you buy some cat climbing racks and other items in addition to some daily necessities, because young kittens are more active. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 8. Su Jinshin slightly closed her eyes and listened attentively until the other party started introducing toy products before gently rubbing the cat's small head. What do you like? Litang grabbed his hand and blinked in confusion as she looked at the various shapes of cat racks and nests placed in front of her. She simply buried her little head in the man's palm. I feel very at ease. A look of shaking hands as a shopkeeper. The salesperson blushed and spoke next to him. It seems that the kitten trusts you very much, that's what you meant by choosing. The man's eyebrows twitched slightly, glancing at a little guy who had thrown all the trouble on him, clearly realizing that the salesperson had misunderstood something. Under the eyelashes, a slight smile rippled in the bottom of my eyes. Upon hearing this, I only murmured without any intention of explanation, and my voice was scattered. Whatever is suitable is required. Okay, sir, please sign your name and the item will be delivered to you later. He followed him to the cashier, and just as he picked up his pen, something suddenly came to his mind. Can we do an inspection here? The shop assistant was stunned and nodded. Sure, sir, we also have vaccines here. Do you need me to bring them over now? At least it's also a pet store in the villa area, and the hospital store is all together, which can be said to be a one-stop service. The man nodded casually and pulled out the pen cap to sign. Thank you. The shop assistant whispered a polite word and walked forward, holding the cat and leaving. They are all professionally trained. After all, the clients they usually receive are either rich or expensive, and they usually don't get distracted unless they can't help it. To be honest, she's a bit jealous of the cat in her arms. Damn it, I really want to wear my soul and let the little cat whimper. This mentality does not end until the cat is bathed and ready for examination. Because it's really beautiful. The cleaned kitten was snow-white all over, and its previously sticky fur became fluffy, like a moving snowball. It's very clear and easy to understand. A pair of lake blue pupils, wet and looking at you, make people's hearts melt. The salesperson couldn't help but hold their face in both hands. Woo 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 little fairy. How could there be such a cute and beautiful cat? What should I do if I try to steal it? The fairy must like pink burlap bags, right? Li Xiao Fairy Tang tilted her head, and for the sake of her professional and comfortable handling of herself, she meowed and extended her small paws at her, giving her face. I need to hug. The shop assistant picked her up with a smile on her aunt's face. Hug, I'll take you for a check. Up, okay. Litang tilted her chin and snuggled in her arms, feeling a bit nostalgic for the man's embrace. After a thorough inspection, the salesperson returned to the lobby holding the kitten and reluctantly handed it to the other person. Sir, I have checked and everything is normal for the kitten. The actor sat on the sofa, Jean Gui cold, with no emotion on his face. He only looked down at something, serious as if dealing with $1 billion transaction. I only realized it was a cat handbook when I got closer. Upon hearing the sound, Su Jinshin instinctively lifted his head. I saw the snow-white kitten rushing straight towards me. The man frowned and gently took it. Don't jump over in the future. It's too dangerous. Litang smelled the familiar scent on his body and found a comfortable place to rest. Upon hearing this, he reached out his paw and patted his hand, meowing in dissatisfaction before turning his little head away. Look like I'm angry and come and comfort me. The salesperson was also surprised, afraid that the kitten would jump into the air. Seeing it being taught a lesson, he felt a little heartbroken and spoke up to defend it. Cats are also too clingy to you. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Little Ancestors of the Movie Emperor 9. Su Jinchen reluctantly tugged her lips and looked at the little guy with his back to him. He reached out and rubbed her little head, as if learning to coax others. You're still young, so it's easy to get hurt. So the shop assistant watched the elegant and noble man quietly coaxing the little one in his arms as he walked out, unsure of who to envy for a moment. The villa is very large and the overall decoration style tends to be cool, with a typical black and white color scheme. The little guy's things haven't been delivered yet, so Su Jinchen can only put her on the sofa, hook her mask with one hand and throw it away, and loosen her tie with the other hand, trying to communicate with some little guy. I'm going to change clothes, don't run around. There are so many tables and chairs at home that it's easy to bump on them if you're not careful. Especially after witnessing the restlessness of a little guy. Litang stepped on the sofa under his feet and found it quite soft, so he didn't refute him either. He just huddled down and waved his paws at him, driving people away clearly. Little heartless. Despite being held in his own arms for the last second, he refused to leave. Thinking that the man couldn't help but chuckle hoarsely, he pulled his tie and walked towards the room. When he returned from taking a shower and changing clothes, he found that the living room was too quiet. The man paused as he wiped his hair and instinctively looked for some little guy on the sofa. After the rain, the sky has cleared and the morning is still dark. The dark clouds have now dissipated, and the sun has quietly climbed into the sky. The golden sun shines through the French window, and puts the kitten's white hair on a layer of light gold, which is quiet and cute. It seems that one can understand why everyone likes to keep cats, and it is indeed very healing when not mischievous. His eyes warmed as he draped a towel over a nearby hanger, and then he heard the doorbell ring. It's probably the little one's belongings that have arrived. When the employees moved everything in and put it away, Litang also woke up in a daze. I wasn't very tired originally, but the sunlight was too comfortable, and due to being a baby, I couldn't help but fall asleep. She skillfully jumped off the sofa and found the man who was installing the cat climbing frame. He had just taken a shower and was dressed in home clothes, with a slightly less oppressive feeling on his body. Perhaps for convenience, the long sleeves were pulled up a few times, revealing the porcelain white skin. The fingers resting on the orange money ball are slender and have distinct joints, which looks very nice. The broken hair in front of the forehead is still slightly damp, half drooping, and the skin tone is even colder and whiter. The Adam's apple rolled slightly, and the slightly messy collar revealed a hint of delicate collarbone, evoking imagination. Just as he came out of the bathroom, the woody aroma on the man's body became stronger, mixed with a fresh mint scent. I don't know if it's the smell of shower gel. Litang squinted her eyes and took a sip, relying on her body size to crawl into his arms. Her small head rubbed against his chest. Meow. Su Jinchen lowered her eyes and cleared one hand to rub her little head. Wake up. The kitten consciously extended its little head under his hand, making a comfortable growl in its throat. The man couldn't help but chuckle softly. Can I give you a name? He blinked as he looked at the snow-white ball in front of him, thinking of the salesperson who had just said that his little guy was a little girl and loved to be clingy. He pondered for 2 seconds. How about calling it Tang Tang? Sugar. Tang. Litang tilted her small head and glanced at the man with a soft nod. It means satisfied. Ding. Favorite value increases by 10. Does he know my name? The system is also a bit puzzled. I don't know, it's probably a coincidence. Litang lowered her eyes and let out a sound. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Little Ancestors of the Movie EP1-10. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 10 The Little Ancestors of the Movie EP1-10. The man lightly patted her twice. Sugar, let's play with it ourselves first, and I'll help you pack this up. The little kitten looked up and sat down in the nearby cat bed, with round and beautiful eyes staring at him without blinking. Seems to be saying, "You're doing yours." Sujin chuckled and had to admit that his little guy was indeed too smart. So he lowered his head and continued to do what he was doing. After finally finishing everything, the living room has greatly changed. The originally cold hall was filled with fuzz everywhere. Colorful flower cat climbing racks, orange carrot wool balls, shell-shaped cat nests, and many small sofas are arranged, one in the east and one in the west. On the coffee table, there are also cat food and various small toys for the little ones. The two styles differ greatly, yet there is an indescribable harmony. Sujin stood up to wash his hands, then walked to the study to get the script and sat on the sofa, looking at it. Just as I carefully read a few lines, there was an additional heat source on my leg, and the little one didn't know how to climb up. He was trying hard to drill into his chest. He reluctantly touched her little head. "Be good, will you play by yourself first? Wasn't that cat crawling on the rack with great enthusiasm just now?" The little kitten glanced at him and slipped into his arms while he wasn't paying attention. Quietly huddled around the man's waist and abdomen, with two small claws resting on his hand. Eyes yearning to hug to need, the young and esteemed actor paused for a moment and opened the forum for the first time in his life. "Landlord. What should I do if the kitten is too sticky?" Soon, a netizen answered that. "It's a bit off topic. 1L, show off. You must be showing off. 2L, damn it, why do you want me to see this? My master never sticks to me, he always hates me. 3L, what kind of human little angel is this? Isn't it okay for a kitten to stick to you? I advise you to go steal some fun quickly. 4L, what kind of cat is the owner of? Let me tell you one thing, I want to take care of it. 5L, damn it, I don't believe it without photos. Everyone is a garbage collector, how could you just suck a cat?" The man frowned and didn't quite understand their thoughts. He brushed through dozens of layers before seeing a slightly serious answer. 45L, is the owner keeping a kitten? If you are clingy, you may want to play with her, or trust you and like to be by your side. It is recommended to spend more time with her. Because this may be the only time you have been recklessly sucking on cats, crying, coughing, and feeling a bit jealous. Sujin lowered her head to look at the kitten in her arms, put down her phone, and gently followed her hair. "Be good, then I'll read the script." Litang obediently meowed and lazily yawned as she smelled the scent from him. The sun poured in from the French window, and the curtains were blown up from time to time, making it easy to relax. The person and cat on the sofa appear incredibly harmonious. It was already an hour and a half after reading the script. It was 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sunlight outside the window had dimmed a lot. The breeze carried the coolness of the night. He raised his hand and put down the script, slightly closed his eyes, and rubbed his slender fingers against his temples. After a moment, "Pick up your phone and send a message to the agent." "I have taken the script," the other party quickly replied to the message. "Okay, I'll go hand it over." After a pause, it seemed like something was coming to mind. "By the way, how is your little ancestor doing? Are you getting along well?" The man instinctively looked down at a small ball in his arms, his thin lips hooked, and typed a few words. Tang is very well behaved." After sending it, I put my phone aside, got up, closed the window, and prepared dinner. The agent on the other side couldn't help but mutter as he looked at his phone. Tang. Have you even given names? It seems like we get along well. Shake your head casually and continue with the task at hand. End of this chapter.